Hey friends, welcome to Sabbath School Daily, where we have been studying from this lesson right here, Ephesians. This week we're starting a brand new lesson, lesson number 9, which has the title, Living Wisely, and today is Sabbath's Intro. I really appreciate the theme that we're going to be looking at this week. We're going to be studying Ephesians chapter 5, and this whole theme of living wisely is one that is needed now, apparently more than ever. I have always believed that one of the greatest gifts that God has given mankind is good sense. It's the ability to look at things and understand them as being either reasonable or unreasonable, making good sense or bad sense. That ability of discernment is one of the most precious gifts that God has given humans. However, we live in a time where it seems as though that which is crazy is perceived as normal. That which is evil is perceived as good. That which is not making sense is perceived as being reasonable. And so we live truly in a time of inversions, when people, it seems as though, don't either take the time to think about things, or their way of seeing these things are skewed from the get-go. Now, I don't claim to be the wisest person. I don't claim to be the most discerning person in the world, but I truly believe that the outlook that the Bible gives, the outlook that a life with God gives, it provides that down-to-earth good sense that we see in the Bible in so many occasions, and the contrast to which we see as being not wise. So that's what the apostle is writing here in Ephesians chapter 5, and really the principles, the guidelines, the virtues. Truly, friends, the law of God provides a down-to-earth good sense that you won't get anywhere else. Look at what our memory verse says. This is Ephesians chapter 5, verse 15 through 17. And it says, "Look carefully then how you walk, not as unwise, but as wise, making the best use of time, because the days are evil. Therefore, do not be foolish, but understand what the will of the Lord is." So there is so much to be unpacked with just this verse. We're going to be studying this throughout this week, but I just want you to take a little bit of time to appreciate this verse. Look carefully then how you walk. What I get from this is the understanding that we should be intentional in the way that we live. Always be intentional in your day-to-day, in the activities that you participate in the places that you go, in the conversations that you have. That's going to be a big part of our whole conversation this week. You'll remember that last week, a big portion of our time was spent studying the aspects of speech, of how we should talk to one another, how we should address one another. And so you'll have the good, wise, godly, sanctified speech. And then here you're going to see that there is also the waste of time, the evil talk, the idle talk, things where apparently we're not talking about anything in particular, but just wasting our time, and worse than that, in many occasions, being destructive with just the way we spend our time talking. So here you'll see that in this first sentence, it's saying, look carefully how you walk, how you live, not as unwise, but wise. Why does the text assume that the readers are going to be wise? Why? Because that is what God provides. That's where the book of Proverbs, it tells us that the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. And there's a reason for that. It's nothing magical. It's not because you just, oh, God is great, and then magically you're wise. No, it's because there's a give and a take there. And in relating with God, since He is the source of wisdom, He will over time give us wisdom. We will become more discerning. We will become more reasonable and have better judgment. Then it says, making the best use of time. How much time? And look, preaching to the choir here, because this is something that I struggle with. I think most people struggle with this, which is their use of time. But we have to be so careful with that. The things that we read, the things that we listen to, the things that we watch. Sometimes I feel that we spend so much time idling in things that aren't necessarily evil in and of themselves, but because of the amount of time that we invest in these activities, they end up becoming evil, not essentially, but that's the message that we're communicating by the amount of time that is drained with these things. And so that's what the text is saying, making the best use of the time. Time is our most precious resource. It's something that every human shares. Everyone has their own allotted period of time. You can't buy more time. You can't sell your time. Not when it comes to the universal cosmovision of life. We are given this life. Of course, there are ways that you can use your time more efficiently and more proficiently, and in that way you're essentially buying more time, or at least you're using it in a wiser way. So here the apostle is telling us to use our days, use our time in the best way, because the days are evil. What does he mean by that? If we are not intentional with our use of the time, then the things that will start happening in our life, the time that we spend doing things that are not wise, they end up being evil. Have you ever heard that saying that says an empty mind is the devil's workshop? There are several different variations of that saying, of that phrase, but in essence it is when your mind is idle, when you're not using your time wisely, that is the perfect moment when the enemy is going to come and he's going to tempt you, and it's more likely that you're going to fall. So what the text is saying is be intentional, be strategic in your use of your time. And finally, therefore, do not be foolish, but understand what the will of the Lord is. And how do you understand the will of the Lord? You get to know the Lord. That's how you understand his will. So it's going to be definitely an interesting lesson. It's going to be a full one. We're going to dive deep into Ephesians chapter 5, and I feel that the Lord is going to bless us richly with what we're going to be talking about. Don't miss out on the lesson. Remember to study it, look up the Bible verses, read Ephesians chapter 5. That will be good for you as a little bit of context for this week's lesson. Also, please remember to like, to share, and to subscribe to our videos. We release one every day. Also, please remember to comment down below in the sections. If you have any questions, if you have any comments, I'd love to interact with you. That'd be great. And I hope to see you again here tomorrow for another Sabbath School Daily.